The Square Ball Podcast.
Hello there, welcome to the show. This is a Summer West stand. Normally during the season, you'll find it Monday and Friday, guests from across the world of Leeds United on YouTube, in your podcast app as well. Dan here with Michael on this one. Sponsor for this one, Michael Normanton.
Oh.
Who's it going to be? NordVPN.
VPN,
hey,
yes, good.
Hey,
good.
Hey. You can watch sports events and TV shows / movies that aren't available in your region by switching virtual location. Did you know that?
That is very useful.
Yeah.
How many devices?
10.
That's good.
Yeah.
Any kind of money-back guarantee?
Oh, 30-day money-back guarantee.
Is that right?
I know that's what you wanted to hear. You can protect your private data, such as your bank details, passwords, online identity, that sort of thing. If you're going abroad across the summer.
What about if I was a millionaire and I was buying a Starbucks? Could I use it on their public Wi-Fi?
Yep. I'm glad you name-checked a specific company in there. But if you want to be secure on public Wi-Fi, this is the point he's making.
Okay,
Yeah. So everything is absolutely locked down and secure, and you're happy browsing in Starbucks, who probably provide fine coffee.
Probably do.
Yeah, very good. Anything else to add?
No, I think that'll do.
You didn't want to mention the NordVPN threat protection feature?
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, protects you from viruses, malware, and phishing. It's the fastest VPN in the world.
Very good. Where can you find the offer?
What? NordVPN.com/TSB?
Sounds right.
Yep, superb. You'll get additional months off there on top of your discounted 2-year plan. So have a look. Yeah, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee, totally risk-free, NordVPN.com/TSB. We'll pop a link in the episode description box as well. Today's guest, Dave Tomlinson, or at least for this part of the show. Dave?
Yeah, Dave Tomlinson, Wilco 92. Talk all that stuff later.
Yes, Wilco92.com is where you will find all the information you need for the Howard Wilkinson Statue and More campaign. So that started. It's a couple of weeks ago now. As we record, it's last night.
Yep.
But as this comes out, by the magic of time travel, yes, a couple of weeks ago. So
alternative time zone we're in, aren't we, Dan?
Yes. So the campaign is underway to get Howard Wilkinson a long overdue statue. You are one of the coterie of people who's behind this. The Wilco launch event at the Peacock last night as we speak. So it was Monday the 16th.
That's right.
Of June. So that's all happened. Howard was there himself. If you haven't yet seen the episode with Howard or listened to it, it's in the app or it's on YouTube as well, where he talks about legacy. And that's the whole point of this, Dave, isn't it? It's about commemorating Howard Wilkinson appropriately. And he's a little bit too bashful almost to address this matter himself, as we found out on the episode where we spoke to him. He's a very, very humble man. That's one of my great takeaways from speaking to him.
Howard Wilkinson legacy. The statue is included, but the statue's only part of this. This is about commemorating an era, a man, a hero for all Leeds United fans. I can say a bit about that later in the conversations we've had with him around this, but Dan's absolutely right. Most humble man I've ever met in my life, apart from myself, of course. And I, don't say that too often, but I had to really persuade him to get involved in this. And he was desperate for us to do something else or talk about Leslie Silver or even Michael Innigan. He said they deserved it, but we managed to go through this and persuade him. So his actual quote was, and I'll leave out the swearies around this.
No, you can swear on this. It's funny. Yeah.
So
it's a big boy show.
Okay, so what he said, actual words were, this was tail end of last year, who the fuck's going to be interested? This is 30 years ago. I was just doing my job. And I goes, look, Howard, you were doing your job. The team was doing their job. Look what you achieved. Look what you did for my club. And I tell you, I don't really get emotional, but I did. I did again last night. I said exactly the same thing. So look, what you did for my club, my town, this made a difference in my growing up. Fantastic. And I tell you also, I'm in the NHS, so you go through, the nurses just did the job. Doctors just did the job. I had this during the week on a YouTube video we did. This guy was saying, look, they were just working. They weren't brave. I was beside myself because they were heroes. Clap for the carers. And exactly the same. Not in the same sphere, of course. Howard and the team didn't save people's lives, but they saved Leeds. They took us from, and people won't believe now how bad it was. Bad it was in the 80s.
I remember that's all I grew up watching.
I know.
It was terrible.
It was awful.
Yeah, and it's mad, isn't it, to think like in this more recent stay out of the top division, it was like 16 years, and that felt like an eternity. But it was just like that back then. The fall from grace, it's exactly what I was brought up on. I think my first ever season was probably post-relegation. As a tiny boy.
Yeah.
But even still, but it meant that all I grew up experiencing was really, really crap football in the 80s, and stories from my dad, the glory years videos of,
Yeah, thanks, Dad.
we used to be the best team in the world.
Thanks,
in the
Dad.
world. Yeah, exactly. And then all of a sudden, Howard Wilkinson arrived in 1988 and just lifted the club up by its bootstraps. And then within 2 years, we're promoted. Within 4 years, we've got the title.
Yep.
It's a phenomenal achievement, isn't it? And I know that the gap between the top of the Premier League now and, you know, the middle reaches of the Championship is vast. It's vast. But that's not to in any way downplay what Howard Wilkinson achieved. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, and I suppose he's talking about that first season. I mean, they were in relegation trouble when he got there. Real relegation trouble, drifting, shambolic, changed. They went on this lengthy unbeaten run. And it was almost better that they stayed down because it made it better in the long term. But a year later, you know, excitement with it. We didn't want that, did we? But, you know, triumph. And it's so memorable because I know people like, and it was second division, they like, you know, the mood, the atmosphere in that second division, because it was just about Leeds. It was about that teamwork, the city, the fans, etc. Fantastic. And then got up fourth. And then stuffing Fergie. And it's really interesting. McAllister, I won't do it, but McAllister tells this story when they were getting the title, and he got the earpiece on. So he was back to the studio. So
you mean when ITV was showing the Man United game?
Yeah. Do I need to go through that? I can tell you if you want.
Well, no, I'll just explain it for anybody who's watching this who's not quite familiar with what happened that day. It's we beat Sheffield United that morning, or lunchtime kickoff, and then we all came back up the M1 to Leeds and watched on ITV as Liverpool beat Man United, but they had the players, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. So there was Chapman, Batty, Cantona, and McAllister in there, and McAllister being he'd done a bit of TV work, so his mic'd up to the studio, so he got his earpiece on, and then they brought Fergie out at the end, and Fergie made this big point. They didn't win it. We lost it. I'm telling you that. And Gary goes live on the telly. He goes, there he goes again. Gracious ever, big nose. And he comes through on his earpiece. Dennis Law, who's in the studio. Fergie can hear everything you say. And apparently, it was 20 odd years before he spoke to him again. You know, absolute rift. And he told me at least twice, so it must be true. Obviously, if Gary says something twice, it must be true.
I like that. That's brilliant. It's the sort of thing a fan would say, isn't it?
Yeah, and you know,
that's what everyone thinks, isn't it?
He was right to point it out as well.
Yeah, because he was graceless, was Ferguson. No?
Yeah.
And when you contrast that with how Wilkinson is when you speak to him now, and how, like you say, just how measured he is in both victory and defeat. Again, that's another thing I took away from speaking to him. The sense that, as you were saying there, Dave, we were just doing our jobs, and you take the rough with the smooth. Because we touched briefly on Wembley 96 and his reaction to that. And as we've said loads of times, Michael, I carry guilt with me across the years for my response to that. Admittedly, I was 17 years old and absolutely shit-faced inside Wembley.
And I was a proper child.
Yeah.
You know. No change there then, lads. Eh?
And yeah, not much has changed in the intervening years, etc. But no, I had a really drunken, I was crying as well, tearful reaction to. But I remember just, you know, the Leeds end turning on Wilkinson. But it was like it was a 5:30 p.m. kickoff or something, wasn't it, at Wembley? Yeah. So a lot of drinking had happened, and I think it fueled the reaction. And I often run through in my mind when I think back to that era, what that walk must have been like from the dugouts on halfway back to the dressing rooms, which were under the Leeds United end. A very long, lonely walk when you've just been dispatched 3-0 without even laying a glove on Villa. Yeah. But he was like, yeah, you got to take it off with a smooth. People are entitled to their opinion. And I was like, please don't say that, Howard.
Yeah, no.
Hate me for it. But he doesn't. He's very measured. Never swings from one extreme to another. It's all very much on the level, which I suppose it goes back to what we were saying about emotional control towards the back end of the season, and how it felt like Chris Wilder had lost his emotional control a bit.
But he just face.
Yeah, at Sheffield United, whereas Farke was very much on the level, and then he lost control of the parade afterwards. But Howard Wilkinson, not a man for losing control, I don't think.
No, and it was all that stuff, because he did this all the way through, and I think it made the difference, because Fergie was playing the mind games and doing all that stuff on him. Never bit on it once. And, that's what the players loved, because they knew they got someone who knew what they did. They knew there was a sign of panic over there. They knew there was a collapse. Yeah. And he just told them, they've got to go to Liverpool last day. They need the points.
I'm glad we're hopefully going to get a statue out of this. I think it is genuinely long overdue, and I like there are more components to it than just the statue as well.
Absolutely.
So all the building blocks, as it were, are in place in terms of like sculpture. There's a design being finalised. Yep. Howard's having input into that, probably against his better judgment. He won't want that.
I have to tell you, trying to work out what he was going to dress up in. Are you going to wear a tracksuit? Yeah. Are you going to wear shorts, Howard? Oh, all right then. He got shorts, hitched right up. Sam loves them, loves his legs.
What? So is this being done on current Wilco's frame then? Is it going to be based off photographs?
It's based on, as he is now, sat down in the... No, it's based on actually Leeds Sheffield Wednesday in the Championship season. So he's like pointing like this and he's wearing these skimpy shorts.
But that is how I remember him.
No, exactly. And his muscly legs.
I'd be interested to know why... it's not the famous photo of him walking away from the camera with the championship trophy. Is it too hard to do?
No. Well, yes. There's a problem when you do sculptures. If you've got a trophy, it's notoriously difficult to do. It drives the cost up, but you've also got that bit where he's holding it. It can break.
Right. And
it's also this thing, if you're not careful, and he showed us when we went to visit him, his closing words as we left, don't do one of these. Because he brought, that statue, the little statue that came out before where he's holding the trophy.
Yeah.
Like he said, don't do this. He was just joking, like he said, don't do this. I think he's embarrassed by how it's been used. And the trouble is, it is this, I suppose, bit of a cliche. You could do it, but it's trying to do something different. This is about not just showing the triumph, but it's the direction, the generalship, the leadership. And I know we talked about this before. So it's this thing about showing the way. It's about leadership, not sergeant major. It's about academy and scholars rather than apprentices. And that's something he talks about endlessly. It's about this guiding light, taking people, taking the club, taking the city, and it was taking the city into new ground. He talks endlessly about that. I think he did on the interview, didn't he?
Yeah.
I think it's a nice choice for the sculpture because from having spoken to him as well, it was always about the work for him.
Yeah,
and
coaching.
Yeah, it was about guidance and it was about doing a job and doing a job well. And the trophy is almost it's what you get at the end, but that's not the meat of what you're doing here.
He described it as being like the encore for somebody who's like an actor on stage or like somebody who's in a play. It's nice to get the plaudits and the prize at the end. It's why you do it, obviously. But you want to make sure that the play itself
Just interrupt. He told me this about the Villa game, the Villa 1 Leeds 4. It happens when you get it, you're doing all the dress rehearsals, you're doing all that, and you're out there, and suddenly it clicks on the night. Absolutely. Sheffield Wednesday the same. Just clicks. And that's absolutely right for him. That's what he was looking for. So they talk about this as well. Muscle memory, trust your swing. Practice. So he just... You know what you're doing. You don't even need to think about it. That's where you indoctrinate them. And it was really driving it, but only so they could put in themselves. He talks about, I don't want robots. You've got to have that life in there, but you've got to have the basics right. And that's what Bielsa did in the same. I mean, it's slightly different, but if you get that right, so people know what they're doing, don't even need to think about it, they can improvise on the stage off that.
I tell you what, I did find, you mentioned Bielsa there, and somebody who has listened to the interview this morning texted me and said exactly that. Said there are actually some slight parallels there with the pair of them. The method, the focusing on the structure and getting, but he was very big in the interview that we did with him. He was very big on stressing it's about buy-in. It's about getting people to buy into what it is that you're trying to achieve. And I think that very much reflects, different style of football, different method and all that. But ultimately, it's about buying and creating something that's greater than the sum of its parts.
No, absolutely. He did that going way back when. He certainly did, at least I say a bit about that in a minute. But he did it at Notts County. He got passing players. He loves the passing game. You talk to him about it, you would have thought it's all long ball. It's like what it was at Sheffield Wednesday, but he loves the passing game. He had that players at Notts County. Sheffield Wednesday had a different set of players. He worked with them. When he got to Leeds, he was recreating it, so he got him what he needed at the 2 stages. Second division and the title. He got players fit for it. He put them together and let them go. I mean, that midfield just put them. He didn't teach them what to do. They just fitted in because the structure was there. The players understood this. Players understand, apart from David Batty, ball into the crowd, but let's not talk about it.
Although, I think there was a sort of a little twinkle in his eye when he was referencing Batty about some players don't always buy in, but are still brilliant. But you need those mavericks, don't you? Which you wouldn't expect necessarily from a Wilkinson side.
Have you heard the story about the invisible ball, Batty? Do you want me to tell that again?
Yeah, if you want to.
Okay, so Tony Dorigo told us a couple of weeks ago. So Wilco comes out with an imaginary ball to training, and they often did this five-a-side or whatever.
An imaginary ball?
An imaginary ball. He got an imaginary ball.
Because you put it under your arm there.
Yeah, no, he had.
Right.
He walked out like this, imaginary ball. Right. Here, lads, I've got an imaginary ball here. Okay. Right, okay then. So what I'm going to do, Melvin, I'm going to give it to you, and you're going to pass through da-di-da. You're going to go through the line. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So he starts off, Mel Sterling, and say, pass it to him, Mel true to form, just pass it across. And it goes across the back line. It gets to Dorigo, and he passes it to Speedo. They're okay. And Gary passes it to Batty. So Batty flicks it one foot, flicks it up on the other, one shoulder, boots into the crowd. And then he said, and Howard went running after it. I don't think they did that one again.
Went running after it.
Look, there he goes.
The imaginary ball.
Yeah. Square ball.
Oh, fantastic. God bless David Batty. Funny you mentioned Batty. I was going through some of my camera roll yesterday, and I found I got a screenshot of him with his dog. You know, when he was there smiling during lockdown with his dog, just looking happy as Larry away from football. Maybe that's what he wants: motorbikes and his dog. Something else that's worth mentioning. So this that I've got in my hand. If you're on the video version, you will see this. I'll put it on camera now. What it is, if you're on the audio version, it's the Howard Wilkinson Legacy League Champions 91-92, an A4. I suppose it reminds me of like a club magazine or a program almost in style, and it's got the photo of Wilkinson with the Manager of the Year trophy and the League Championship trophy and the Barclays trophy.
All of them,
Plus the team are in front of him there, the famous on-pitch shot against Norwich, and Leslie Silver holding a quaint cheque for £100,000.
And notice, just for this, the cheque is the right way up. The actual photo has got the cheque the wrong way up. You know that, don't you?
Oh, really? Is it being flipped around?
Couldn't possibly comment.
Clever. So this is it's a sampler of something that is going to be coming out with the book itself, and it's with the sort of statue as part of the campaign. It's a book to go with it, like almost like I suppose a handbook, a little guide to that season. Player profiles in it, match reports. Each match report is available as a match day sponsor, which I really like. Well, so you can sponsor it.
Okay, if I talk that through.
Can you sponsor an imaginary ball?
You can do whatever you want, Michael. If you've got £500, we'll take any money you've got for whatever.
You used to get that, didn't you? You used to get there was the match day sponsor and there was the match ball sponsor.
Yep.
So
okay, so
cha-ching!
Couldn't possibly comment. So this is downloadable from the website. If you go and look for it, it describes the brochure, but you can get it.
Wilco92.com.
Wilco92.com. So if you go on there, you can get this. This is almost a hint to what's in the book. There's a lot more than that. So we're looking for high quality, but we're also looking for new stuff. So personal insights, intimate portraits of Howard and things and the players. But so we've got a number of packages available. And this is, after all, it's about raising funds for the statue and the programme. So there's a number of packages. The biggest one, the most expensive one, is Match Day Sponsors Package. So you can sponsor a game from the season. So you pick out whichever one you want, and I don't know if you can see it on screen. I'll just show you a couple if that's all right.
Yep, I've got one there. So
okay.
That's the 4-0 at Southampton.
Yep, so, or this one.
Yep.
So the Sheffield Wednesday game right at the bottom.
Yep.
Yeah, you get like this. So you're going to get some companies. I know when it's been done before, it's had things like families would do in their own portrait. So that's one package. You also get within there limited edition signed by the Howard and the players, signed print of the squad and all that type of stuff.
Oh, correct.
You also get a variety of other things. It's all on the website, says that. So that's the one. That's the most expensive. You can also get what's called a collector's edition. No, let's work this through. Subscriber's edition, which is effectively you get your names at the back. And we've seen this before in the centenary book.
I am holding it up as we speak to camera. There we go.
So supports the legacy, so named in there. Probably a couple of pages of that. So probably about 500 of those. You also get what's called a collector's edition, which is the same thing. And all these, just remember, all of these individually signed by Wilkinson, personally signed by Wilkinson, 10 players from the squad. You also get, forgot to say this before, the match day sponsors, a signed copy of the programme, the original programme, first class quality. You can also buy the book on its own. So you can buy hardback, softback. This is about trying to give people a unique thing, something that's really value for money. Rob Endeacott and myself wrote all the words in this, personal responsibility. If it works, it's mine. If it's bad, it's Rob's. We've also got...
We're going to hear from Rob shortly.
Yeah, I know. Don't tell him I said that. Shh. So we've also got exclusive photos from Andrew Farley, club photographer for 4 decades. Never before seen some of those, and we're putting those in. We've also got photos from Sam Wilkinson, Howard's wife. So she's sharing stuff. We've got things like manager of the season, manager of the month awards. There's lots of stuff that's going to be shared. That's going to be coming.
Is that personal collection stuff?
Yeah, personal collection, yeah. So we went up and saw him about a month ago. They've got this room full of things. I went in there. Some of the things are just incredible. So they're going to share with us. Some of that's for people to have a look at. Some of it's to buy. Some of it's to do auction, like we did last night at the launch event. Yeah. So we got. We'll talk a little bit about Paul Trevelyan maybe, but there's a Paul Trevelyan original of Gary McAllister who was there last night. And we'll talk a bit about the players in a bit. So that went for 400 quid. We could have got more, but that was auction. So we've got all that type of stuff. This is about raising over a period of time. We're also really, really importantly, and this is where Rob will major a bit later on, is fan engagement. This is about getting people involved, getting them to suggest what we're talking about, getting them to shape what... We've got a lot of ideas, but we don't want to just be, this is what we think, go away and suck it up. This is about, tell us what you think. This is about a long-term legacy. It's really important here. This is something that's lasting. We want to get that over for Howard.
Yep. So, just to throw a net over all that, what we're saying, because there was a lot of information to take in there. Essentially, you've got the book / program style thing that you can be a part of on loads of different levels. The opportunity to sponsor that or get your name in it. Everything's at wilco92.com. But also there you get the chance to steer the overall vision, because you've been weighing up ideas about, is this some sort of scholarship maybe you could put in place, because that feels appropriate to what it is that Howard Wilkinson is all about. Scholars. Yeah, no, that's scholars, right. As you saw from the interview that we had with him. So this is going to happen over a period of time, and it's a chance to sculpt it from now until the campaign ends, and hopefully that's with the unveiling of the statue. So it's a movable feast in some regards.
It is, and recognising the hope is that we can put this somewhere near Ellen Road, ideally in the space, ideally alongside REVIE, ideally in a moved place. Now, clearly that's a bit difficult at the minute. We are in discussion with the club. That's part of the reason why actually the timing might be a bit variable. So we spoke previously to Angus Kinnear. We're in touch with them. They were at the do the other night, etc., the Peacock. So it's desperate. We want to do it with them. But this is for the fans, with the fans, by the fans.
So it's a fan-led thing.
Absolutely.
Club look to be on board, and hopefully that's something you can get as part of the redevelopment, so that can be factored into.
Ideally, but you never know, do you? We have got some other alternatives, but we do want to make sure it's the right choice.
But what a wonderful thing it would be. Can you imagine, as you're walking in that new main entrance at the West Stand, and there's Howard Wilkinson, it's where he deserves to be. And I'd like to see Don REVIE put there as well, potentially. Yeah. Maybe not next to a car park.
Yeah, I've never been thrilled with the position of that, I have to say. It's a great thing to have, but it needs to feel more part of the...
You can get some great photos from behind him, though, if you climb up on that wall.
True, yeah.
Looking up at the... Not that I'd suggest you climb up on dangerous walls right at the back and to do unforeseen things like that, but really great photos.
So statue, book, ideas for how to have an ongoing thing as well, be that a scholarship or some sort of community-based...
Community, absolutely community. So some of the things, for instance, Howard talks about, and he's very big on, anti-discrimination, young footballers, it's those sorts of areas. Disadvantage. It's disadvantage. What can we do for the community? What can we do really as a legacy? Because that's what he's interested in, leaving it. Not self-aggrandizement, but a legacy, a real legacy for that time, that era.
Right, we've tapped Dave out now then at half-time, and Rob Endeacott joins us. Rob, how are you? Good. You just come in from Ellen Road, actually. There's paint on your sweater. You've been painting murals down on Ellen Road itself, just opposite.
It could actually be seagull shit. It's not necessarily paint.
Just opposite Billy's Bar. So anybody who's been to Ellen Road recently, there's that plot of land, isn't there, just behind? Yeah, so you can see it next to the Peacock.
Yeah.
Because I saw it the other day and I went, oh, new pictures.
I heard you.
You're the man who's been doing that along with others, presumably. It's not a solo pursuit. It's not graffiti.
It's solo pursuit, yeah. Sorry to say. Well, actually, that's a bit unfair. Sorry, Gary Edwards. Gary Edwards, I've taught Gary all I know. He's my apprentice. Gary's helped with backgrounds, basically, and everyone's helped with ideas, but it is really, I suppose, a solo project, yeah.
Yeah, so what have you been painting then? Can you reveal, or is it a secret? Or?
I can reveal, yeah. I think it's been revealed anyway. At the moment, I'm working on Farker and Bielsa with the trophy, which I've never seen. I know you guys have. I've never actually touched. And yeah, it's working on that. It's like a almost like AI generated photo, which I'm then putting onto a wall. So yeah, it's going well.
How very modern.
Yeah, it's what I got told to do. So I don't know. It wouldn't be my choice really, but having said that, I wouldn't know what to do. I think I did suggest that I wanted to do an album, almost like an album cover. Let It Be Beatles, four squares with four greatest managers, but it got overruled. So there you go.
That's democracy, baby, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, we're actually talking about, in the context of Howard Wilkinson, it's about legacy, and so it's nice to commit these things to the street art around Ellen Road, because I think it's really added something to the fabric. I don't know about you, Michael. I like walking past these things and going, yes, I'm nearly there, even though I know where I am. Just that feeling. It's the feeling.
Yeah, it definitely is. The murals and some of the stuff in the city centre as well. There are just more signs of Leeds United around everywhere now, it feels like. Because for, I guess, understandably so, during the kind of Bates, Chilino era, it felt like we were very unloved as a club by truthfully, our own supporters, including those who still had season tickets during that period. But the city as a whole felt very detached from Leeds, and it feels like the city has taken Leeds United back on now as well, and there's a lot of embracing of it around the ground.
There's more harmony, I think, isn't there? And this is part of it.
Yeah, I think so. I think as well. I've been saying it a few times recently, but I think there's quite a serendipitous ascendancy going on as well. A lot of things are going right for Leeds fans and surrounding areas, and the plans as well. I just think we're all on a nice rise, really.
It's a brave man
continues.
A brave man who says that just before the window opens again and we embark on a...
Come back to us at Christmas. The trams are cancelled.
Rubble being tears by October, yeah. You walk into Ellen Road and, we're all spray painting over the murals because we're furious. Don't want to see it anymore.
Super Tram My Ass, which sounds like a porn film day.
That's perhaps a discussion for a different day. But we're talking legacy and Howard Wilkinson. And actually, so you're on the team of people who's behind the Wilco92.com project, driving forward the idea of properly commemorating Howard Wilkinson. But you've actually, via family anyway, got some first-hand experience of this. So you were saying to me just out in the office before we started talking, so your dad was on the ground staff at Ellen Road when Wilco was manager.
Yeah.
So you've got there's proper heritage there. It goes back across the ages.
I am lucky in that respect. I mean, people are probably bored of hearing it, but my dad was on the ground staff at Ellen Road for about 26, 27 years from 1970-ish. So me being a Leeds fan was a given anyway. Yeah, but thankfully, 1970, we were, at the peak, best team in the world.
So we weren't bad, were we?
We weren't bad. And in a way, that's what affected me as a child growing up, because I saw quite a bit of glory, but I saw an awful lot of inglory, if that makes sense. And so I had to grow up with the decline of our brilliant football club, which wasn't so brilliant for a few years.
So you must have had some little sneaky behind-the-scenes peeks at Ellen Road now and again, maybe?
Yeah, but I was, bear in mind, I was a kid. Yeah. So it's quite funny. I was a very shy kid as well growing up, but one of the things my dad taught me was that helped me, strangely enough, in later life was, if you want an autograph, go bloody get it then, so my dad won't get me.
I was going to say, it's a very Yorkshire approach, isn't it? You want to bloody do it yourself.
Yeah, it was like that. And so, I had to front up and ask all these superheroes. That's what it felt like at the time. Just ask for their autographs,
Yeah.
And in all honesty, I don't think I ever got knocked back, and some of the players had poor reputations for not being so pleasant or polite, but I don't think I ever encountered that. And my dad was just, to put it politely, he was on the ground staff, which is quite a menial work in those days, probably lowly position, that's life, isn't it? Football clubs, you've got hierarchy, and obviously ground staff are the hardest working people, lowest paid as well. Conditions were poor as well. But my dad worked for Don REVIE. Yeah. And he absolutely loved Don REVIE. And Don REVIE tried to look after everybody. That's all genuine. He was a great guy who recognised people's contributions to the overall team cause, which is success on the field. So Don REVIE knew everybody at the club, and even when he left Ellen Road to go to England job, he still used to send postcards, Christmas cards and things like that.
That's fantastic.
You know,
isn't it?
that was just a mark of the guy.
It goes back to, I suppose, what we were saying in the first half with Dave, and just from the chat with Howard Wilkinson about buy-in and a community and everybody at the club pushing in the same direction. So it's fascinating that your dad would be around Howard Wilkinson at that time, because he came in, I suppose, with like a steely determination and a focus. He knew what needed to be done, and he was absolutely he was laser focused on it, and there was never going to be any external noise.
Yeah. I think, and let's be honest as well, Ellen Road was a bit of a tip in those days, and things had gone wrong, and, you know, not for want of trying, but Eddie Gray and Billy Bremner didn't quite achieve what we all hoped for. And so Father B and Leslie Silver, took the brave move of demanding that Howard take the job, really. And my dad's on the ground staff, the head groundsman was John Reynolds, who was a great guy, lovely guy. Very much in the REVIE mould, I'd say. He treated people supremely well. He was a family friend as well, bless him. And I'm pretty sure that when Howard arrived at Ellen Road, he saw the state of Fulham Park, which was the training pitches in those days. It was just a quagmire. And I think he took an immediate dislike to the surroundings of Ellen Road. And I think he possibly commented, and perhaps his comments weren't put in the most tactful way. I don't know. Possibly almost like he was blaming the ground staff, which obviously he wasn't, but perhaps his attitude, his demeanour wasn't great. Yeah. So I think there was always friction between the ground staff and Howard.
Healthy friction, let's call it.
I'd say so. Yeah, I mean, we all know that Howard wanted all the pictures of the REVIE era, all the glory years taken down from the corridor walls, etc. And I think some people took umbrage at that. And in all honesty, I didn't. You know, I was only, how old was I? I don't know, about 23, I think. And I didn't take umbrage. I just thought, yeah, to be honest, I think he's doing a good thing there, but he needs to make sure that he explains himself, because people can take exception to things like that, so, especially at a club like Leeds United. You know? The
thinking there was essentially wipe the slate clean, wasn't it? It's like take down the memories for now, and when we've created our own legacy here, then it can all go back up.
Yeah, but I remember I think it caused a little bit of outrage to some people, maybe.
But we know, don't we, that Leeds is a club. Well, it's ironic because we're talking about commemorating Howard Wilkinson from the start of the 90s, but we are very much in touch with our past, shall we say? Yeah. To the extent where sometimes it can weigh us down.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Which is exactly, I suppose, what Howard was trying to do. So, how did you find the perception of via your dad and the ground staff is going to be, well, he's not to be messed with. This guy, steely exterior. How does that compare to what you've actually found all these years later as you've got to know Howard in the exploring this idea of a statue and commemorating him? Yeah,
I think Howard obviously has this reputation, and probably deserved it, of being rather dour and forthright and stern. And
he's the ultimate Yorkshireman.
Yeah. Demanding as well. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Ultimate Yorkshireman, I mean, I think my ultimate Yorkshireman would be somebody who's like that, but also has got a twinkle in their eye and like a good joke, and also very honest with their demeanour and how they treat people. Perhaps it didn't always come across that way with Howard, I don't know. But then again, he had a massive job to do. He took it on, he took it seriously. He had his 10-year plan, which was fantastic. And, you know, he's a professional. He had to get on with his job. You don't have to be liked to be a great manager. You just need to be respected. And I think he commanded that for sure.
Yeah, I think, did you find, I mean, we spoke about that in the first half with Dave, that it was all about process for Howard. It was all about knowing exactly what they needed to do.
Yeah.
And it was all about, buy-in and making people see that you have a plan, not just having a plan, but making people see that you've got a plan, and also shutting out external noise.
Plenty of external noise in those days as well.
Yeah. And there always is with Leeds.
Yeah, true. But we always had our enemies in the media. And this is quite fun, really, because Don Reevy knew that the Southern press hated Leeds when he was manager, despite being the best team in the land. You know, the Southern press never gave him credit. And that continued up to Wilco as well. And so Howard hated the Southern press as well. It's quite funny, really. And I think, the external noise, that is, a lot of it is, most of it's probably negative as well. But I think not only did he know how to buy, and his recruitment policy was pretty spot on, not perfect. Obviously, he made a few slip-ups, but no major bad deals, I don't think, really. But he also knew that the players he wanted to keep because he knew they were of the right mentality. And he sort of planned his team around, you play to the team's strengths. You can't just suddenly change everything because it just doesn't work like that. Individuals can't always adjust anyway. So he worked with what he had. He made a shopping list almost, but he also made a sales shopping list, if that makes sense.
Right,
so
right.
he knew who he couldn't rely on, and he knew who we wanted to get rid of, for want of a more pleasant expression. Basically, he knew who he was going to put on the transfer list. But I think as well, having spoken to a couple of players from his era, he was honest with them as well. So I won't name names because it's not really fair, but one player said, well, he did tell me that I've done a good job this season, but he'll be getting rid of me next season. Right. But he told me that, so he says, just find yourself a new club. There was no malice involved. You're just trying to help out in a way, just being rather honest. I think maybe too honest. I don't know.
Wow, that is very, very forthright. I suppose, Michael, it's and we drew the parallels in the first half there with Dave with Bielsa. It's do plan A better. Yeah, and I was thinking of Bielsa again when you were talking about the ground staff and stuff, because the tales out of Thorpe Arch with Bielsa basically being a nightmare, wandering around going, don't like that there, move that there, that's not right, that's not in the right place, that tree needs to come down. And he had a hill taken out.
Changing natural landscapes, like that. I don't like the fact we have to walk around there, change that. Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting that, I guess, I'm trying to picture Bielsa's reaction upon finding a 1980s Fullerton Park. I think he may have had a few people by the throat on his first day if he'd been presented with the training pictures there.
Yeah, I mean, there are similarities as well. And yeah, I mean, I know Bielsa was a hard taskmaster as well. But again, is that an issue really? People are well remunerated these days, and that's the right word, and better than in the 70s and even 80s. I tell you, when things improved for Leeds United ground staff, when the council bought the club. Mm-hmm. How stupid is that? I mean, the council doing good for people. Yeah. Sorry.
Hey.
Sorry to all councillors listening.
That tram's coming. The tram's coming, Rob.
Oh, it's gone.
Just the one. Just the one tram. But yeah, Howard even went as far as to do things like narrowing the pitch because of optimum cross width and stuff like that, wasn't it? It wasn't just playing to the team's strengths so much as engineering every aspect of what he wanted to do to that. Because you're not allowed to move. Once you've set your pitch dimensions now, especially when you're in the Premier League, they've all got to be the same size as in the rule book. But I remember, I think it was when we signed Lee Sharp that he saw how far Lee Sharp crossed and saw his average crossing distance, and then brought the touchlines in to reflect that kind of thing.
I didn't know.
Because you sometimes turn up and you go, "Has that pitch been moved?" Yes, it has. Yeah. But yeah, you used to be able to play with your pitch dimensions, didn't you?
Did Jesse Marsh adjust the pitch at all?
I think when you're in the Premier League at that point, that's when they codified it in the rules that you had to have it as the standard.
He just ignored the touchline. Yeah, just narrowed it anyway.
He nailed that man at the back post as well who was going to tap it in every single time.
It's the standard FIFA size pitch now, isn't it? It's 105 by 68 metres. Right. I'm a bit of a geek for this sort of thing. But yeah, I actually read the Premier League rule book, would you believe, to find this out. And you've got to have your grass a certain length. So you're not allowed to do the shorten it or lengthen it. It's got to be within certain parameters. Can you imagine that? Back in the day, I mean, a lot of the time, going back to your dad's era, it was just mud and never mind grass.
Well, it was, but in the 70s, Ellen Road pitch was one of the best in the land. Literally was, land. Sorry, I think Arsenal's always beat them for the awards, but Ellen Road pitch was fantastic after they got the undersoil heating. So for a few years, there's a lot of pride in that pitch, but then things went on the decline, and rugby league. American bloody football, I think, as well, were played on it as well. So, but I think, and John Reynolds, just as one example, had been there since the 50s. So there's a lot of pride. So when a new manager comes in and starts criticising the players. I suppose you can imagine why it's sort of rankle with people, but I don't think it was a big issue, but I think it definitely happened.
But
words.
It's the personal experience of the people who get on the end of it. Do you think there's a bit of perfectionism there within Howard of what he wanted? And it was laser focus, knowing what he needed to do to achieve it, and nobody could get in his way.
Yeah, and then as the manager, you need to get through to the players as well, individual players. And if it's not landing there, then he's not going to find much use for that sort of player. So I think you've got to treat people individually, obviously. And I think when you're a manager, you've got that short span of time to actually work and get results. You've got to make some quite hasty decisions, and usually they work, but not always, perhaps. And I mean, for instance, David Batty is a brilliant example. I mean, there was no getting through to Batty via Wilco. They just didn't get on, did they? But,
I was going to say we touched on it in the first half with Dave, where the imaginary football was mentioned. Just classic. It always feels like classic Wilco and classic Batty. There's almost a sitcom there.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? It's just what a story that is. And I mean, you just think, I'm with Batty in that one. Sorry, mate. Sorry, Howard, but that's bollocks.
So what have you found when you've spent time around Howard recently? I found him fascinating to listen to.
He's a good guy. He's got a twinkle in his eye, and he's got a very good sense of humour, and he's obviously a lot more chilled because football's not his livelihood now. He's just almost, I think, pleasantly surprised, well, very pleasantly surprised at what we're trying to do for him. But I have to say as well, it's a cliche, behind every great man there's a great woman. But in this case, it's true. Sam Wilkinson's a brilliant woman, and I think she's very important to the whole process, really.
I'd not met her before we met Howard a month or two back, but you get that sense they're absolutely a unit, the two of them.
He was very quick to thank her last night as well, wasn't it? As we're recording this after the launch event, and he was first person who gets credit. He's like, she was by my side. Yeah. She makes things happen.
And did you hear somebody go, woo, woo, woo? that one, McAllister. Yeah, brilliant. I mean, McAllister was great last night as well.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that team owe so much to Wilco and the thing that he created. There's a lot of love for him still.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the fans are realising that as well. He made a brilliant team. And I compared them to the great REVIE team as well. Well, there's more than one great REVIE team. And I think Wilco deserves a lot more credit in that respect. But he rejuvenated the club. He almost re-evolved the club.
He rebooted it.
Yeah.
Didn't he?
Yeah, before that was even a word.
Yeah. He was ahead of his time.
Yeah.
Actually, do you know what? That is another thing that I took away from speaking to him. Very much a visionary.
Yeah.
And I don't think we fully appreciated it at the time.
That's right. Yeah.
And maybe, I don't know, maybe he did lose his way a little bit in the mid-90s, but nonetheless, you can't take away the achievement and the fact that needs to be commemorated.
Yeah, I think, we do know that he had a 10-year plan when he first got to Leeds. I mean, in fact, he told Silver and Fotherby this 10-year plan before he even joined as manager, I believe. And you're thinking, well, that's pretty great. That's pretty startling. And then it just went on. And I think, he did lose his way. And there's not one manager on this planet who's not made a mistake, and maybe he made a few. But I also think you've got to remember that the recruitment policy by the club or just their actions in the transfer market, it wasn't Leslie Silver, Bill Fotherby and Howard Wilkinson as in tune as there had been. So when he took over in 1988, the plan was there and it was pretty spotless, pretty perfect plan. But then I think as we got into the Premier League, First Division, and we won the league title.
To be fair, it did turn into the Premier League.
Yeah. Or even Premiership, as some people call it. That's bloody rugby, innit? But I think Howard may have made mistakes, but he wasn't the only one. Unfortunately, he's the one who paid for mistakes. So the recruitment wasn't great, was it? The players were signed, and the money wasn't as evident as I think it probably should have been. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say that sort of era of Thomas Brolin, and he's gone on record as Howard before as having said that that's the one that he regrets, that he bought into even against his better judgment.
Yeah.
And I think Well, Bill Fotherby, I mean, an absolute force of nature. Anybody who saw him when he was alive. And the stories that I think we spoke to, was it Alan Sutton who we spoke to some time ago, who just recounted amazing stories of this. Again, just a force of nature would just go and make things happen. Yeah. Like absolutely hustling in the background, whether it's milking sponsors for money to pay for a transfer, or just things like that. Just a brilliant character. And I think he maybe got a little bit of stardust sprinkled on him when he started to look at the continent. And it's like, we need an exotic sign in here. Yeah,
I think that's right. I think that's fair as well. I think it wouldn't have happened without Bill or Leslie Silver. So I don't criticise Fotherby. I mean, I'll have a laugh at his expense. But I never met him, so I don't feel particularly proud of doing things like that. But nevertheless, I'll say now, Bill Fotherby, force of nature, and he was a fantastic force of nature for Leeds United. Yeah. It took a while for him to actually get there, but what he did, superb. Yeah. I mean, I'm not pitching this to you guys, but if you're interested, let me know. But co-wrote a TV series, drama series called Keep Fighting, and it's basically around Bill Fotherby and Howard Wilkinson. And so Bill's a great character to write. I mean, it's not a Hollywood thing, you think, but Bill Fotherby is a great character that I think needs the world needs to know more about. And definitely, I think Wilco's the same.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think with the passage of time, and do you agree? And you look at like the Wilkinson era, the Bielsa era, getting it right, particularly at a club like Leeds, it's often a kind of a lightning in a bottle, relatively short window these things tend to happen in, and the greats are the ones who can sustain it over a period of time and reinvent that thing. They're probably the absolute highest rung of managers, but we had those managers as well, and maybe circumstances like you look at with the takeover of Caspian, who came in with ideas of their own, and George Graham ended up coming in, things like that. These people came in and kind of disrupted the thing that they were trying to create. And in the sense that we went up with Bielsa and we didn't have the money to kind of recycle the squad, you see that unless the conditions are absolutely right in the background, that these great managers can't always go on and build the next iteration of the thing that they've built. And it does remind you that it's often a short window in which the magic happens. And for Leeds, it was like 90 to 92 it was perfect.
Yeah. I think his recruitment again, his transfer policy ideas, Wilco had it nailed, and the players were all for him. Even the odd rebel like Batty, but they were playing as a great team, had a great leader on the pitch, setting standards, just exemplary behaviour almost as well. Because I think times were probably easier then for footballers, more innocent. Mm-hmm. Maybe not the right word, but
less scrutiny.
I suppose, and I think
the behaviour not more innocent.
Yeah,
the consequences less severe, possibly.
Yeah, very true. With the publicity less as well, I think. But they also, I don't know. You always got a great vibe. I thought the fans were in it together with the club, with the players and the management. And I think Fotherby, like I said, he was similar to that. He was really one of us. He had his critics, and he was a nutter at times, but I think
rambunctious nutter.
That's a good word. But it was all for the greater good. We were all on the same sort of page. I don't like that cliche, but anyway, we were all heading for the same thing, aiming for the same sort of glory, shared glory, and things were great then. And I think a lot of things have gone wrong in football since, and obviously with Leeds United, of course. But not everything was great in the old days, but some of it was.
Yeah. And this is an era that definitely needs to be commemorated. So wilco92.com for all the information you need. And also put your oar in. Have a say on where you think you want this to go, because it's a fan-led thing. And absolutely. I think it's a case of doing this the right way and doing something that Wilco's happy with, but I think that fans think is appropriate for his legacy as well.
Well, I think that's really important. There's two things you said there, that it's for the fans. And we built the Don REVIE statue 15, 16 years ago. We did that, the fans, all of us, and now it should be easier. There's more money involved, but it should be easy because there's more of us, and the social media and people like you, fantastic support. We can do it, and we should all be proud of it because we're all aiming for good. And everything's transparent. And Don Revie's family was well into the idea of us doing the statue, and I was lucky enough to be asked to get involved with that. So I put my 2 pence in those days, and I think that's possibly why I'm back again.
Can't stay away from it.
Exactly, but it's going to be more than 2 pence this time.
No, but I like the fact that you feel so passionate about the legacy and you're driving this, because it is easy for the clubs to forget. I think sometimes they get so caught up in the here and now, and we need to stay up and then do the next thing. We're building for the next thing. That building a statue and commemorating something that happened 30 odd years ago is really important to fans, but it's not front of mind always for clubs. And that's not a criticism of the club. It's just the reality of running a football club, the amount of transition and short-termism.
Yeah. I mean, the club's got its hands full, and the plans, especially with stadium development and the surrounding locale, it's a massive project, isn't it? It's not just, so a statue, with respect, I'm not disputing that they might not see it as important, but nevertheless, they would see it as relevant. But they've got a lot of things going on. So we're doing this off our own bat. Nothing is in it for us. We're just fans like everybody else. And we're hoping to just achieve that fundraising amount target and just do some good. But it's important, like I said, Wilco's very keen on the idea. And I'm sure Dave's already spoken about it, but Wilco's not about himself. He's about sharing credit, and he wants to do good as well for future things. And that's why I'm hoping and I'm pretty confident we will link up with, for instance, Leeds United Foundation. But there's also local charities involved that who want to come on board and support. And, we're not asking for charities money, but I think there's other ways that you can help each other out. And that's it. And I think that's sort of thing that Howard and Sam Wilkinson are really keen on as well, just to do good, because they realise that we, as a Leeds United community, think they are pretty special, and they want to sort of pay back. I think they just want to continue helping everybody out, and I think it's just a beautiful idea.
Nice one, Rob. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Wilco92.com for all the information you need, and we'll catch up with you soon.
The Square Ball Podcast.